To be appointed to a second World Cup finals is an amazing feeling, really. After reaching the final in 2010, people said, "Are you going to finish? Is that going to be the end of your career?" And I thought, no, I still get an awful lot of enjoyment and positive emotion from taking charge of games. And whilst those emotions are there, I'll keep going. It's a good challenge as well to try to be appointed to another World Cup. Not many referees that have taken charge of a World Cup final have gone back to the next one. In fact, in modern times, I don't think that's happened. So it was certainly a goal for me in the face of some strong competition as well from other English officials, from around Europe and around the world. So a wonderful feeling when eventually I had the notification as early as January in 2014 that I was in the final list of 31 referees that are going to be going down to Brazil to take charge of games. When I look back to being an 8-year-old, I had no ambition to become a football referee. I don't think many 8-year-olds do hold that ambition. Like many other kids, I wanted to be a professional footballer and worked hard and tried to make the grade, but just wasn't good enough. That was the bottom line. I realised that when I was about 16 or 17, and it was my father who came to me at about that age and said, "Howard, you're not a very good footballer. Have you thought about doing a bit of refereeing?" Because he'd done some himself when he'd finished playing. And I said, "I'm not really interested, Dad, because I think referees are all bald old men, really, when I think about them, and that's probably what I've become some years later." But I decided to give it a go and took a course, 8-week course, did an examination at the end of it. Took charge of my first game a couple of weeks later, under 11s football in South Yorkshire. That's all it was. Came off not really knowing what I'd done, but seemed to recall having enjoyed it and thinking, maybe if I work hard enough I can get to a level that I'd hoped to get to as a player, but in another way. Stuck at it, worked hard. Took 11 years to make it onto the Football League referees list, and then another 3 to make it onto the Premier League. So it doesn't happen overnight. It takes a lot of time, a lot of perseverance. A lot of times I've come home and thrown my bag in the corner and thought, that's it, I'm packing in, but gone back out and done it again. And eventually it's a journey that's taken me all the way to the very top of the very pinnacle, I guess, in the World Cup as well. Combined it very much with a full-time job in policing, when refereeing was my hobby and police work was my full-time occupation. Got to a stage in the refereeing career where I had to make a decision, which way do I go, when the refereeing was offering me full-time employment. So I reduced my police hours down to part-time and then went on a career break, which allowed me to concentrate fully on the refereeing. Refereeing at the very highest level in the Premier League is very much professional. It's a full-time occupation for the guys who take charge of those games, and rightly so, because the games are so demanding. They're getting quicker season in and season out, and the demands placed upon the match officials to be in the right place at the right time to make the right calls which can affect the outcome of a game, can affect the position in the league, can affect relegation, can affect Champions League places. With that comes huge rewards. Those demands are high, the pressures are high, a lot of scrutiny on what we do. So I think it's right and proper that referees are professional, and with that comes professional preparation as well, in terms of not only the mental side of things, the analysis of games, the reflection on performances, knowledge of the laws and the procedures and competition rules, but also the physical preparation as well, of course. And we're lucky in that when we work on the Premier League, we're assisted by 2 full-time sports scientists who set our training schedules on a weekly basis based around our commitments, our movements, our travel, including some overseas football as well. That's all taken into account. It's very personalised for us as individuals. It's worked out based on the amount of work that we can do at any one time during the stage of the season that we're at, so we don't over-fatigue, so that we peak at the right times, using heart rate monitors, which we feed back the data every single week of the training that we've done. We also have the assistance of a sports psychologist as well. Refereeing's a mental game, I think, and sometimes confidence can be low, maybe after a bad decision, a bad performance. You need to get yourself together quickly and focus on the positives whilst reflecting on what you could do better. So we have the assistance of sports psychology as well, and other things as well. From time to time we'll have assistance from physiotherapists, from massage therapists, and from eyesight experts as well, who assist us to make sure that we're doing the exercises that improve our eyesight. It's probably the most important muscle that we use when we're taking charge of football matches, and yet it's probably one of the muscles that we neglect the most in terms of the training and preparation. So a full plethora really of assistance that's there to make us perform at the highest level, mentally and physically. I think the way that football referees are treated in our sport is a cultural thing. I think over a period of time, the game has accepted an element of questioning of refereeing decisions, I guess, and with that comes an element of dissent sometimes. But I think the situation is better now than it was several years ago. In my experience, the relationship on the field of play is better than it was maybe 10 years ago, and we've had to work hard to try to make people aware of the importance of not only treating match officials in the right way, but as a knock-on effect, treating the game in the right way. So it's a game that brings us an awful lot of pleasure. For us who operate at the top of the game, it's our living, our livelihood. So we need to protect it. We need to make sure that it's a healthy, growing, developing thing, and that we do, hand it on to the next generation in a healthy state without turning people away from it. And I think that message is getting home. Educating young people about the importance of respecting the image of the game as well is really important. And yeah, the game is played differently to other sports. There is a different culture around the game, but we're working hard to try to improve it, to improve the deal that referees get as well. What I'm mindful of, what happens at Premier League level is replicated further down the football pyramid. And therefore it's important that all of us at the very top of the game understand the importance of doing things right. Irrespective of the pressure, we understand that emotions are a key and important part of the game, but there needs to be a line that's drawn where emotion doesn't overspill, no matter what the stakes are. To be appointed to referee the World Cup final is a huge honour, really, when you think there's only been 19 World Cup finals, and I'm told there's something like 2 million qualified football referees around the world in 2014, so you can imagine the slim chance that you have of being appointed to the game. But of course for some people it happens, and for me it did, and I was absolutely thrilled to be appointed to that particular game. A great responsibility as well, to be handed control of the game by FIFA. The game that I took charge of between the Netherlands and Spain in 2010 in Johannesburg was a difficult affair. It was an important game, and people said this will be a beautiful game, played between two teams who know how to play the game beautifully. And I thought, well, maybe it won't be so great, because it's an important game, and really important games often don't live up to expectation. But it was a really challenging game. It threw up lots of situations that I had to deal with, and I had to keep my focus, draw upon my preparation, and draw upon my experience and that of my team, of which I had a great team with me down in South Africa, and I know from experience that you maintain your focus, you maintain your line, you don't waver away from that. If the game is difficult, then you dig in and you keep doing what you think is right at the time based on that level of knowledge and experience, and you see the game through. You certainly don't hide, and I think we got through to the end of the game in reasonable shape, even though it wasn't the type of game we'd hoped it would be. We hoped it would be a game where people would be speaking about the great goals and the great players, and there was a lot of attention on the amount of physicality in that game, but that was the game that was given to us, and we had to deal with what the game presented to us. We don't know which games we've been appointed to yet. We'll find out when we arrive in Brazil after a few days. That the announcement will be made about the first game. You're only guaranteed one game, and if that goes well, it opens the door to a second. If it doesn't, then it might be your only game. So you need to keep focused on that particular game, keep relaxed as well, but do what's got you to the finals when you eventually cross that line to take charge of that game. That game could be in Manaus, it could be in Fortaleza or Recife in the north of Brazil, which are the more difficult venues in terms of the climate, the environment, the heat and humidity. So just to try to minimise the effect of those conditions, I've undertaken some acclimatisation sessions for the heat and the altitude. I've done that locally. We've experienced extreme conditions in that training, up to 40 degrees Celsius and 85% humidity. It's been tough, it's been really difficult, but I'm hoping it's going to have been worth it should I be appointed to a game in the north. Of course I might be in the south, where it's much more comfortable taking charge of games in Rio or Sao Paulo, but who knows until we arrive. And I'm a big believer that you prepare the best you can do to be the best that you can be, and hopefully the pain and suffering that I'm going through at the moment is going to all be worth it if we do receive an appointment in the north.